Welcome to People Are Everything, the show where I ask my guests, who are the 5 people that have shaped the person you are today? And today we're talking with Jathan Janove. He's quite the character, Jathan. He's lived a life too. He built one of the very first employment law firms in the US, and he's gone on to do a stellar career, basically helping both sides. I think his main philosophy, as you'll come to hear, is that he believes HR departments in organizations have been getting it very, very wrong. And his solution, well, fundamentally, is about saying sorry, which you don't hear often in corporate life anymore. So he's got a lot to say on this subject. He's a fascinating character. You're gonna love Jathan, as I did. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Jathan Janove. Hello, Jathan. How are you? Welcome to People Are Everything.
Greetings from Portland, Oregon.
I know all about Portland.
Yeah, you've been there?
No, not at all. But I spoke to someone the other day, and what I did learn is there's 2 Portlands. So no, I didn't know much about Portland.
Oh, yes, that's true. On different coasts. Correct.
Yeah, I was getting all like, yeah, I know my geography now. I know my American geography. And I was all showing off. And he went, no, I think you meant Portland, Maine. And I was like, oh well. All my credibility crashed in that moment.
Yeah, there's the West Coast and then there's the East Coast.
Okay, I know the East Coast one. And the Portland West Coast does sound very beautiful. It does sound like a nice place to be.
It is. It can be. The summers are the best here. We pay a price for it during the year with all the rain. But then in the summer, the rain goes away and everything just stays beautiful and pristine. And, it's an amazing place.
It sounds a bit like England, but without the sunshine bit, because we have a lot of rain. We're famously rainy.
Yes.
But we can't guarantee our sunshine. If we could guarantee our sunshine every summer, we would be happier as a nation. But there's so much jeopardy around now. We're into March, nearly March, Jathan, and you can feel the tension. Are we going to get a good summer? It's like,
really?
Yeah, it's very deeply steeped in our psyche.
You need to import a little bit of Portland, Oregon here, because pretty much it's usually around mid-June. It pretty much stops raining altogether until maybe October. And then it starts a little in October, and pretty much it's just blue skies. And because of all the moisture during the year, it doesn't dry out.
Oh,
So all the flowers are up, everything's green, trees are doing great. And then, as the fall approaches, you're going to get rain.
Oh, well, yeah, we can dream. That is nothing like it is here. So just, have you ever been to the UK? Just interested.
No, I haven't. But someday.
All right. Well, maybe only come in May or June. It's probably just, and the rest of the years is just a total lottery, especially the summer. Anyway, well, this is great to meet you. I'm excited about today because what I know about you is a subject matter. You cover 2 very interesting facets of the things that I'm interested in. One is people. So we're going to get into that whole kind of how you've supported companies from doing the right thing. But also I love a courtroom drama. And so there's a little bit of mix, and there's a blend of that in the work that you do, which is in particular how to keep out of the courtroom if you are somebody who has the responsibility of people. So you have literally hit the absolute, zenith of things that I love in both those subjects. And I know from what I do know about you, and I'll hand over to you in a second to give your summary. But this is not just a theoretical exercise for you. You've spent years actually working with people and firms in particular. And I like what you said once about people don't sue firms, they sue managers. So it's deeply, deeply precise and personal for you in terms of how you keep a firm out of the courtroom is through prevention. But also, you've been on both sides of the coin. You are a trained lawyer but you've also been in the HR space all these years. So I'm fascinated to know more about you today. And yeah, it's just a real thrill to have you. But before we get into the whole format, then why don't we share? Well, maybe you can share who you are and all you're about.
Sure. I when I went to law school at the University of Chicago, there really wasn't a thing called employment law.
Hmm.
It was nascent. And I had a summer grant to study the then newly formed Illinois Human Rights Commission. And I worked in a legal aid clinic, essentially representing employees in race discrimination, sexual harassment, claims of that sort. Then after I graduated, I went to Salt Lake City, Utah, where nobody had ever really heard of employment lawyers at that point.
Hmm.
And yet it was starting to happen. Claims were starting to trickle in, and nobody in my firm had any experience other than me through my clinic work and during law school. So it was sort of like, well, just give it to Jathan. And so it enabled me to become the firm's kind of go-to person in this growing area before I was even a partner. And so that's how I got sort of launched, if you will.
Hmm.
And then my practice ended up being a management-focused practice. I ended up creating my own law firm. I basically continued practicing employment law, and then we moved to Portland, Oregon, and I continued there for a while. I managed the Portland and Seattle offices of one of the largest international employment law firms in the world. And then I said, okay, I'm ready for something else. And so I gave up the law. I got trained as an executive coach. I got trained as an organization development practitioner. And so I've been bringing for the last decade or so these concepts and blending them with my prior career as an employment law attorney. And that's pretty much where I am today.
But is that kind of what are they? Gamekeeper turned poacher. I never know which way around it is it? But it's that kind of switching sides thing that I find really interesting. Not switching sides, but switching sort of focus from being on the one side the corporate in-house kind of sort of representative, and then switching more to the coaching side, which I guess is more the preventative side of things, isn't it? That's like trying to help people not make the mistakes that may lead them to a courtroom. Is that right? Have I read that right?
Yes. Oh, this is a key point, and it's essentially the message of my latest book, The HR Renaissance, which is the human resource profession, at least in the United States, and it wouldn't shock me in the UK if that was also the case, sees itself as claim prevention,
Mm-hmm.
but they go about it the fundamentally wrong way.
Okay. Go
Which,
on.
among other suffering and pain and cost, it actually works against true claim prevention. And so that's kind of my message now to anyone who will listen, that the HR profession has got it all wrong. Got it all wrong.
I think I know where you're going to go with this because I do want you to bring that to life in a minute. But again, the little I do know about you, it's about well, what I took from it anyway. It's about like discourse and openness and actually speaking to people in the right way, and also saying sorry now and then, which I think somewhere is crept into. It's a bit like insurance. If you hit someone else's car, the first thing you're supposed to say is nothing. Don't say sorry. Don't admit anything. Don't say, even if you've literally smacked into them and it's entirely your fault and it's so obvious. Somewhere along the line, it crept in that we don't do that. And I think that's a similar sort of message in your how you approach this as well, isn't it?
Well, there was some fascinating studies on medical malpractice claims and
Mm.
apology.
Mm-hmm.
And so the conventional wisdom was, don't you dare apologize because it'll cost us millions of dollars.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet some institutions turned that around and they developed apologies. What they found was it dramatically reduced claims and claimant
Mm,
spend.
mm.
Completely counterintuitive. But that's because, and we see this in the workplace, you're dealing with human beings.
Yeah.
Most HR professionals don't quite understand that. They check the boxes. They're compliance cops. You know, the documentation is sufficient. It's insufficient. These are all human beings, which means fundamentally they're not rational creatures. There are no such thing as rational human beings, myself included. Okay. And so you have to approach it with that knowledge.
Yeah.
And so when you do, with some knowledge of the relevant law, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but
Mm-hmm.
with more of a culture focus, a humanity focus,
Yeah.
which can include the apology. And I've, written about how to apologize and how not to apologize. And I have some great stories in my career where apologies produced an amazing positive results and where they completely backfired.
Do you want to share any of those now? Or you want to just kind of give us I mean,
You tell me.
okay, let's come at this from a different place then. Because where have you seen someone taking a position of no apology, absolutely blow up in their face, where it's actually that's the thing that caused the big blow up?
Well, or no apology is better than the but apology.
Oh yeah, the blah
The
blah blah
but
but.
apology truly enrages people.
Yeah, yeah, because you can almost feel it coming, can't you? You know it's
And so
coming.
those are the ones like a sexual harassment case that my client was a property management company, and the maintenance manager said something to a female employee that offended her,
Mhm.
and justly so. And so she complained to the property manager, the person in charge. And so the property manager called in the maintenance manager and said, "Hey, you offended her. You need to apologize." Okay, keep his job. So he goes there and he apologizes. He says, "I'm sorry if my comment
Oof, I know what you're gonna say.
offended you. I'm sorry if my comment offended you.
Mm.
But given the revealing way you dress at work, I'm surprised it would offend you."
Excellent.
And of course, she hires an attorney and we're off to the races.
Yeah.
So, that's why I say no apology is better than a but apology.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, we all know how that feels. And everyone's doing that now as well, aren't they? That crept into society was, I'm sorry my comment offended you. No, you should just say, I'm sorry I caused that offense. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
no one says that anymore.
it's, I'm sorry if,
If.
of course it did.
Who wouldn't? Who
So
wouldn't be
you
offended?
even twist the knife with the word if.
Yeah. Like
It's
if,
but and if.
yeah. Oh
And,
gosh.
and and so yeah. So I'm very much, if you can't do it right, and I have a
Mm.
formula that I coach people on. I call it the MIDAS Touch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's a very disciplined system so that there's no ifs and there's no buts.
I wrote that down, that Midas thing, because I've done my sort of digging on you.
It works.
And
It
I can,
works
yeah.
incredibly.
Can I list it out? Would you mind?
Sure. Go ahead.
So basically, MIDA stands for mistake, injury, differently, amends, and stop. And mistake means admit your mistake. Injury, acknowledge the harm that you've caused.
Yeah. No ifs.
No ifs and buts, exactly. Differently, meaning commit to a change. amends,
sincerity,
amends, I wrote down make it right. And then stop, meaning, don't add any more buts. Don't do anything else.
The temptation
is to go,
almost overwhelming to explain your side.
yeah.
Don't do it. Silence. Stop. Shut up. You're done.
Yeah, it's a great, what do they call that? Why can't I think of the right word at the moment? Mnemonic is the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a great mnemonic. And you're absolutely right. And in your own life, I don't know why we think work relationships are any different to our friendships or our partners or our families. It's like, if you tried any of the stuff you pull in the conflicts in the office with any other people, you would get a pie on your face. You know what I mean? It would just not work. But we expect it to work in the framework of the workplace, which I never understood really.
Well, and the flip side of that is, and one of the things that keeps me going happily, is that when I coach people in the workplace on these tools, every time it's successful where they actually made a change and it was recognized as a positive change, every time they say, it's helped me with my family, it's helped me with my church, it's helped me with community involvement. I've been bringing this stuff into everything.
Yeah.
Even though I say I focus on the workplace, but you may find something like the MIDAS Touch apology can work wonders outside of the work.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why I underlined a few things here, Jathan. I was like, I really need to do that. So listen, you mentioned about being an author. You've had 4 books to date, and recently, I think the HR Renaissance, that's your most latest book, isn't it? That's your most recent one.
The HR Renaissance is the most recent one.
Yeah.
That was published last year.
And I imagine it's so there. I mean, I know how hard I've done one book. I mean, I'm a real underachiever and you're against you, but it's like, it's a lot of work. I mean, is there another one in the pipeline? Do you see yourself continuing? Have you got more to say to the world about this subject?
Yes. Are you familiar with SHRM, the big HR organization?
No.
Well, they have they say they have 340,000 members in 180 countries.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the president and CEO of this organization, Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM. It's just referred to as SHRM. So the president and CEO, the top person, is intrigued with my work and has said that he'd like to do a book with me. Can't do it now. He's impossibly busy. But if all goes well, we're going to do a book together that's actually going to be addressed to CEOs.
Okay.
My book is addressed primarily to HR people.
Yeah.
Although I encourage CEOs to read it. And if you look at some of the comments in the endorsements, they're CEOs, they're not HR people. But we want to say, and Johnny Taylor is his name, he's a CEO and knows, he's in that world. And so the point of the book would be to say, CEOs, you are making a mistake.
Yeah.
Because you're assuming HR's job is to check the boxes to make sure we don't get sued. That's a huge mistake and lost opportunity. And it isn't even good for that purpose.
What?
So this will be a book directly to the CEO saying, if you're serious about retention, about productivity, about accountability, and employee well-being, you actually care about your employees and their families, then you need to see yourself as chief culture officer with HR as chief culture steward.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's a complete rethinking of the relationship between CEO and HR.
And you see that I've been around a bit, Jathan, in the corporate world, and I've been a CEO myself 3 times. And I would say next to the CFO, it's the most intimate relationship you'll have as a CEO, if you want it. But I've also experienced the complete disconnect working in other firms where the CEO is almost like there's a deliberate sort of paywall between the two. It's almost like, can't get too close to this. I need to protect myself from any sort of fallout. And it's a complete wrong mindset because, like I say, if you embrace this as a leader, it will trickle down your organization and how you are and what culture you set. Like you say, the HR department will then steward, as opposed to what I do witness sometimes is more that it's a conflict area.
Mhm.
And it's probably speaking more to your legal side. It's an area of corporate protectionism, which, again, going back to human relationships, which friendship is going to work where you're sitting there going, right, I'm going to go for a beer, but I just make sure I just don't get sued tonight. I'm going to say that I'm going to go into some sort of protection mode against my own friend. And I know it's different in work. I'm not saying we're all kind of everyone's buddies, but human beings aren't that different when they walk through their front doors of their organizations in terms of how they think and how they need to be spoken to and how they need to how they are made to feel. So I'm all in, and I think that's such a necessary book. And I think whoever this person is, stop being so busy and write the book with Jathan. Get it done.
Well, and the thing about the current book, it does provide a roadmap. But the problem is, let's say you're an HR professional and you read the book and it's the Kool-Aid. I mean, absolutely. Because HR actually has one of the highest burnout rates
Yeah.
and disaffection rates and feeling disrespected and it's a profession that a lot of people go into with enthusiasm and end up unhappy. And it's related to what I'm talking about. That if you're a culture steward, you're gonna love your job.
Yeah.
If you're a compliance cop,
Yeah.
you're probably not. And if you do, I feel sorry for the employees that have to deal with you.
But also, I don't think anybody enters, like you say, that most people who enter the HR space are fairly idealistic about the impact they want to make. So it must creep in over, work experience that says, oh, I see, I'm really just here to keep like you say, be a compliance cop. And that must really, it obviously is disheartening. Do you think there's a gender aspect to this as well, though, Jathan? Because I think without a fault, to a fault, I don't think I've never known a male HR lead in all my years. I'm in business 35 years, and I can't think of a single male lead. Do you think there could be an element of genderism here?
Well, certainly, and I can speak to the United States. The profession is overwhelmingly female.
Hmm.
When I speak in an HR conference, 70 to 80% of the people in the room are women. Pretty
Uh,
typical.
And I brought it up not to be provocative, but just more of I'm just curious because I think, again, like a lot of the professions where it is female led, they're still fighting through um, the veil of it not being as important. Like nursing, teaching, these are predominantly female um, professions, and I think HR, because it's predominantly female and is seen as the soft side of the business, not the sort of the coal face of getting business in or growing the company and things like that. It's often relegated to like you say, either at worst a compliance cop, but even at best as someone that's maybe listened to, but probably not. So, when you think that a company is only about people, they might have a patent, they might have a factory, they might have other assets, but fundamentally, an organization is its people. And I think your book is so necessary because I think we have a long way to go before it's valued or HR functions are as valued and highly valued as say a financial function or a sales function or an M&A function or something like that. Because, if you get the culture right, you can reach for the stars. You get it wrong, it doesn't matter how good your product is, it won't succeed. So I just thought there might be an element of if it being gendered because it is women typically are drawn to this role.
No, and I mean, disproportionately, CEOs are men.
Yeah.
Disproportionately, HR professionals are women.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't deny that that's that may play into it. But I also know examples of women HR leaders that became like the right arm of the
Yeah.
CEO.
Oh, that's when it works beautifully, I think.
Okay, that those CEOs realized that
Mm.
what makes a difference is the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we've got 1,000 employees. Well, what if they come to work? This is just a job. I need to keep my head down. I just
Mm-hmm.
want a paycheck. Or what if they come to work every day excited to contribute,
Yes.
excited to participate, excited to collaborate,
Yeah. Yeah.
excited to provide that discretionary energy you can't command or control?
Yeah.
What if you had an organization like that?
Yeah. That's the dream.
And now look at HR.
Mm.
If HR is a cop, it works in the exact opposite way.
Yes.
It's fear-based.
Punitive. Yeah.
It's
Completely.
adversarial.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way. And that, as a former, practicing employment law attorney, I can say, and it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
wrong.
It's back to the human connection thing. I mean, obviously the podcast, we should get on with the podcast, Jathan, but I could talk about this all day with you. But, the subject matter is people, right? People are
Yeah.
everything.
I mean,
And
a friend of mine is one of the most prominent plaintiffs attorneys, employment law in California, which is the mecca of employment law. Okay. It is the place where millions and millions and millions of dollars are drained all the time from employers' pockets.
Mhm.
And he's one of the best.
Yeah.
Okay. And we've talked. And he's actually one of the people that endorsed my book in the book. And essentially what he said is, if organizations truly adopted what you're recommending, I'd need to find a new line of work.
So he's going to burn all your books.
Yes, but he said, I don't think they will. And I think I'm still going to, the millions are still going to come in
Yeah.
because they're still going to do stupid things.
Yeah.
And HR is still going to do stupid things. And, but that's kind of where my mission is.
Yeah.
Even if you can make a little difference here or there, great.
Yeah. I like the sound of all of that. I think we're very much like-minded.
People that apply what I teach, and again, I coach and consult, so I have, examples of companies. They're great for employees. They're great for the bottom line, as they say. They're not great for the legal profession.
Mhm.
And it's not a coincidence.
Yeah. No, I
It's
totally get it. I totally get it. Now, listen, as I said, I could talk about this all day with you, but I'm now really intrigued because obviously, given um, your life's work, I imagine the 5 people you've chosen are going to be fairly impactful in who you are and what you're all about. So I'm just really intrigued now to get stuck in and find out who you are going to talk about and who you are going to highlight. And I imagine there's a lot of what should we call them? Colourful characters in there as well. I'm expecting that, Jathan.
Yes.
So, well, should we just dive straight in then? Should we just start with the first one? Who you want to talk about first?
Well, why don't I start with the person who's no longer with us, but I dedicate the book to, Steve Bealey.
Okay.
Steve came out of the original labor days. Pre-employment law, there was always labor law, unions and stuff. And Steve cut his teeth in the 50s fighting unions. He wasn't an attorney, but he was a labor consultant, and he had a organization. And Steve at least professed to hate lawyers. Okay. And you constantly got either just, stupid comments or stupid jokes or whatever. This guy was as crusty could be. And I was this newbie lawyer who got assigned to work on a union campaign on the management side. And so he was their point person on trying to fend off the union. And it was a big, power plant. I mean, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And so there were teams, including out of state, LA. I mean, it was a big, big deal. So I was this was in the 80s, mid 80s. I was like the grunt that did the research on, can you do this? Can you do that? Is that too far? And so Steve, for whatever reason, took a liking to me. Even though he told me again and again that I was a moron for choosing law. Okay, because lawyers are just worthless people, etc. So I'd listen. I was a kid, he's the senior guy. And anyway, so we went through this whole big campaign thing. And then, in fact, it's actually as a sidebar. It actually ties into what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So we developed a theme. We had two big unions, putting everything in to organize. A lot of money involved.
Mhm.
And we developed a theme. And I actually had a little something to do with it. I'm not going to say it was my theme, but the human side. And it was, hey, we're new at this.
Mhm.
Give us a chance.
Mhm.
We know we've made some mistakes. There's your apology.
Yeah.
And we just want that opportunity. So the election came and we kicked butt. Both unions. Out they go.
Hmm.
Now they can come back a year or more later, see. And when they did, this time they won. Or at least one. And why? Well, because all those nice things that we said, or the leadership said, didn't translate into reality once the unions were gone,
Mhm.
which effectively destroyed the credibility of
Yeah, no trust.
leadership.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got to know Steve, and then Steve started referring work to me because his organization was based on traditional labor law, but now all these employment law things are coming in. And so he's like, we don't deal with that. So he starts referring, hello, you got a friend there in the
Oh,
background.
no, can you, do you know, because I'm so focused on you, I can't see. Is she in shot?
Yeah, there she is.
Oh, here she
Hi
is.
there.
This is Maggie. She sits
Hi,
next to me.
Maggie.
So
Hey, Maggie.
this is a podcast first. No one knows this. She sits next to me while I'm recording. But she mostly doesn't do anything unless somebody comes to the door. So I didn't know she was in the shot.
Very cute.
There we are. All right. I'm sorry I distracted you. Carry on.
No problem. No problem. Best to Maggie. So where were we?
Well, they came back and they said that all the things that they expected to be changed hadn't been changed. And so it broke down the credibility, and I think I said trust or something like that. And you were about to go on about that.
And then I developed a relationship with Steve where
Mhm.
stuff would come into his labor organization that was really more employment law as this was starting to develop.
Yeah.
And which, none of my colleagues in my law firm really knew anything about. I just got lucky.
Can I just pause you there for a minute then? What's the distinction then between labor law and employment law? Is there a radical difference?
Yes.
Okay. What would
And the difference is labor law is fundamentally a federal creation
Right. Okay.
with federal rules and very specific categories, very well developed.
Mm-hmm.
Employment law is more wide open.
Okay.
it can range from a whole bunch of different things.
Gotcha.
Discrimination, harassment, retaliation. And so these were the things that were starting to emerge. State law, common law, federal law.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was an emerging field. And so Steve would refer these clients to me, which, even though I had a nice job, I was a partner in this firm, it was an established firm, I was able to start my own firm, my own boutique, which I loved. And so most of my legal career, until I moved to Portland, was independent. I mean, I had partners, I had associates, and Steve was, I mean, I don't think it would have happened without Steve. So I was more than willing. And in fact, at one point, he asked me, because he was, he was turning 70, and he wanted me to leave the practice of law to be his successor as CEO of this organization. And I gave it some thought. And I said no. And primarily it's because I was more comfortable with employment law than with labor law. And so I just thought, now his organization, actually, an attorney who worked for me, she ended up becoming the CEO and really kind of transformed it from a labor focus to an employment law focus.
Which is probably where you would have taken it to if you had taken that decision.
But I just wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And administrative stuff and being a CEO and, I much prefer to help CEOs than to be a CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in a way I was at my firm, but that wasn't my calling. But Steve was instrumental. Unfortunately, he died in an automobile accident, going to see his kids and grandkids. And basically there was a crash and he passed away unexpectedly.
Sorry to hear that.
So, but he lives on in my heart.
Well, listen, so much to say about that. So first of all, the fact that that's a huge compliment to you that he would ask you to be his successor for his firm that he's obviously spent years building. And I think the fact that he gave his name to your book, I think that's always such an honoring of you as well. And I'm from the UK, so this sort of differential between the difference between federal labor law and employment law is obviously not necessarily something we see so much in the UK. We have employment law and that's it. There's no two tiers about it. So that's really interesting. But I've done a lot of these now, and there's usually always someone that gave you your first break, or gave you that first nudge into the direction you were always meant to take. So I think from what I'm hearing is that he is that guy. He's the guy that gave you that kind of direction of travel that you've then run with for the rest of your life. So that's I might say he had a predecessor.
Okay. Was also long been gone. A guy named Gary Palm, who was a professor in the law school at the University of Chicago, and he also ran the legal aid clinic, the Mandel Legal Aid Clinic. And so while I was in law school, he became my principal mentor in dealing with employment law claims. So I'd have to give a shout out to Gary Palm. May he rest in peace. Because without him, there wouldn't have been a Steve Bealey.
Okay. And so it goes, as they say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess he wins for sort of lighting that spark.
Gary Palm was also a pain in the rear end. He was obnoxious, opinionated. Oh my gosh, he was a pain. he was a real pain.
But trailblazers usually are, aren't they?
He and Steve had a lot in common. I mean, great people, but obnoxious, opinionated. Anyway.
Maybe you have to be a little bit like that to make some impact, but there we are. There are other ways of doing it. But okay, good old Steve. So may he be resting somewhere and very much at peace. Okay, so let's go to number 2. Who would number 2 be?
Well, I guess I brought up Gary.
Should we go to is Gary going to get number 2 spot?
Well, I don't know about the rankings, but when you said, so Steve was kind of the instrumental in this career path, I said, I've got to include Gary Palm.
Okay, Gary Palm.
Because without Gary Palm, none of this happens.
So you went to law school then, you were not necessarily with the intention of moving into the space you did. So you're saying Gary helped shape that then? He was the guy who gave you that idea.
And also, I guess I'll add a third person in this chain.
Yeah.
Going backwards in time.
All right.
This would be my father, Ethan Janove, who was a professor of education at Ball State University. He was one of the early practitioners of what's commonly referred to as organization development.
So was he a lecturer there? Sorry, I missed that bit. So
what's that?
So your father was a lecturer at the university, or he graduated?
He was a professor at this university, professor of education.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the early thinkers and practitioners in the field that's now known as OD, organization development. And in high school, he used to bring me along sometimes to some of his programs. And my father, of course, has long since passed on, too. But my father would bring me to some of these programs on how to build trust organization-wide, that sort of thing. OD stuff, not employment law, not anything to do with it. So that message, even though when I went to law school is not about OD. Law school is about organization dysfunction because that's where the billable hours arrive.
Yeah.
Okay? We need dysfunction.
Yeah. Not prevention. No, it's definitely not prevention.
So I kind of flip, the script. And then I end up employment law, and then I start reflecting on some of the things I did with my father and some of his work. And I started to think about, wouldn't this be interesting to marry some of this with some of what I'm into today? So I think, if I think about it, those are kind of the 3 pioneers, if you will, in my work.
Yeah.
My dad, Ethan, Gary Palm, and then Steve Healy.
Yeah. No, that's clear. All right. Well, we've kind of lumped 3 in quite fairly quick succession. I might allow that 1 or 2 to be rolled into others, but it depends who you say is next on your list. But I can see from what you've described that they are the sort of the I don't know, nexus, if you like, of where you are and what you've dedicated your life to. I think that's absolutely clear. So, all right. Well, who would be number 4 then? We might go back on those 2 because we didn't talk about Gary that much. But let's go to number 4, and then we might loop back a bit.
And now are we moving outside of this professional trajectory to whatever? Anything?
Oh, yes.
Anybody?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
obviously, I've got to include my wife, Marjorie. Then.
Well, if you want to have what do they say, happy wife, happy life. So yes, you have to include her. So you say her name's Marjorie?
Marjorie.
And
she's a we're mostly retired now, concert pianist.
Oh, wow.
When we lived in Utah for a time, she was the pianist with the Utah Symphony. Wow. She has a degree in doctorate in piano performance from Indiana University School of Music. It's one of the top schools. She's an unbelievable musician. And of course, we came from very, very different, contrasting worlds.
Well, tell me more about that, because it does. To be a concert pianist, that's not an everyday achievement. That's
No.
that's the pinnacle of that particular instrument. So tell me how you met, and tell me a bit more about her.
Well, we met actually, we met at a Hillel house, or if they have those over here, it's a Jewish campus house.
Okay.
I was finishing up my undergraduate at Indiana University, in Bloomington, Indiana. And well, I don't know if the folks are football fans, but they won the national championship recently. But whatever. Uh, so I went to Rosh Hashanah services,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw her there. She was starting her master's program. And I was, I'm Jewish, and so I always thought, when the time comes, I probably ought to connect with a Jew and marry a Jew and all that. And so I see her and I go, she's clearly Jewish, and she's singing along. She knows and she's awful good looking too. Just side note. Side note. So I endeavored to try to get to know her.
Yeah.
I saw she actually had her father was in town and her kid brother. So I struck up a conversation with them in order for them to introduce me to her.
Yeah.
And it worked to a degree. But when I attempted to follow up, it was, that sounds great, but I'm busy. That sounds great, but I'm busy. That sounds great,
no.
but I'm busy. So after enough, that sounds great, I'm busy, you kind of get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't going anywhere. Right? Oh yeah, I'd love to get together. Oh, I'm just so busy. And so anyway, there were these dinners, Friday dinners at the Hillel house. And I would sometimes go, and she'd sometimes go with some of her friends from the music school. And I'd kind of given up, right? Forget it. This is a dead end.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the meal, the rabbi would always say, who would like to volunteer to do the dishes, which meant that you didn't have to pay the $4 or $5 for the meal. Okay.
Good deal.
Yeah. And so Marjorie and her girlfriend, from another pianist, they volunteer. And Rabbi says, well, probably we should have one more. And he's looking around the room, and is it worth $4 to stick around and, wash a whole bunch of dishes? I'm thinking, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the third.
Yeah.
So we're washing dishes, we're putting everything away, everybody's gone. And I started flirting with her girlfriend.
That old chestnut, as they say in UK.
Yeah. And we're getting along pretty well.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about this and that and the other. And, in fact, Marjorie's doing most of the work. Well, she and I are sort of working and sort of flirting. Well, anyway, it transitioned. And the rest, as they say, is history. And so that was December 1978. So she likes to talk about wedding anniversaries. I say that's irrelevant because I was tethered as of December 8, 1978. That's the date.
Just the date.
The year. The rest of it is just sort of commentary.
Does she ever give you a hard time about that and say, well, did you do that on purpose? Or do you think?
Oh no, I have bragged
That you did that on purpose.
She, of course, denies it. She disagrees.
Yeah.
She also claimed that she was interested in me because I was writing a column for the Indiana Daily Student,
Mhm.
and she said I actually fell in love with his writing. So she has a whole different narrative. It's not correct, but it's her narrative.
She's sticking to it.
Yeah, she's
Oh.
sticking to it. And so, yeah, yeah, if she was here right now, she, like Maggie, she'd be barking and saying, but she's not here.
Oh,
So
well,
I'm
maybe
free.
that's just as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, gosh, I mean, I've grown up with music around me, but I'm also from the rock and pop world. And I, I've only met one other concert pianist in my whole life, and they are a special breed of musician. Um, and to have one in your own home as your actual wife, I mean, you must feel pretty blessed. Even given all the other things that you're probably blessed with in a relationship, but to have that musicality inside your own home must feel pretty special.
Yes. Well, now it was a project for me because I was, like you said, I was a rock fed baby.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'd heard of Beethoven.
Mhm.
I'd heard of
Well,
Tchaikovsky.
from the Beatles.
Yeah, from the Beatles, and so I had to learn all this other world,
Mhm.
and it was great. I still love rock and roll. I still love the Beatles. I still love, more recently, Oasis,
Mhm.
but I also love Beethoven's piano sonatas, and I love Brahms. Just about anything Brahms wrote, I like,
Well,
especially his Fourth Symphony.
do you mind if I share a little anecdote from my side on this
Sure, sure.
subject? Because I think you'll find this fun. So I'm a rock person. I was in my first band at 14. Was in bands right through to my mid-20s. I had a little hiatus from music in the corporate world, then went back to music. And I ran a music school, similar like a UK version of Berklee College of Music, um,
Cool.
called the Academy of Contemporary Music, and did that for many years. And I think, at one point during that tenure, or maybe shortly after, I can't remember the exact timings, but I got headhunted by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Wow.
Yeah, and they wanted me to come and run their orchestra. And
Wow.
I'd never run an orchestra before, so I was just like, "Wow, this is amazing." So I was in the sort of short list of okay, let's call it 3 candidates that were put forward. And I remember going prepping for the interview and thinking, "God, I don't know anything about classical music. I'm a rock and pop chick all the way." And this is a message. This is a lesson learned for me. I spent the 3 weeks that I spent prepping for that interview. I thought I could cram a lifetime's worth of knowledge about classical music in those 3 weeks. And I listened to it,
Mm.
I researched it, I thought I could learn it. I thought, because I better at least learn the language of what people are talking about. And I wasn't 100% confident I'll ever get the role. And I remember saying to them, "You're not going to choose me anyway. You're going to go for an ex orchestra MD, someone who's run an orchestra already in their lives." And they go, "No, no, no, we really want to go out on a limb. We want a rock and pop person." Because we're moving more in that space. We're doing a lot more
Mhm.
kind of, rock albums, and I think they were doing a lot of collabs at the time. So I was in with a good chance, but in the end, they didn't care whether I knew my Brahms and my Mozarts and my Beethovens. It was the opposite. They were interested in me because I didn't know it. Um, and I just thought, gosh, isn't that a lesson in authenticity? Like, what was I thinking? What could I have possibly learned in 3 weeks that I could pull off in a meeting or about classical music? So people who've lived it their whole lives. I mean, what was I thinking? I didn't get the job, obviously.
Well, fascinating, sort of parallel paths,
Yeah,
you and me.
yeah.
So we go to Utah after, okay, and Marjorie quickly gets involved in there's the Utah Symphony, a very well-known symphony, and she's getting involved. She's doing all, chamber music, this and that and the other. And I'm a lawyer, right? So she's performing with the concertmaster. They're doing some recitals and whatnot. And then his contract is coming due. And he said, I want to hire you to do my contract with the Utah Symphony.
Wow.
So, all right. And then I just kind of approached it with, well, what about this? What about that? Anyway, he's so happy with the contract. He's telling everybody, and he had ended up with a big time career as a soloist. He's still active. Anyway, so the music director, Joseph Silverstein, who had been the concertmaster at the Boston Symphony for years, and then he came out as music director. So he hires me to do his contract. And then word just starts leaking out around in this. And so I'm now out representing people in different orchestras, key players, Montreal Symphony, the Pittsburgh Symphony, the whatever symphony, San Diego Symphony, blah, blah, blah. So I have this little side practice of representing principal classical musicians in their individual contracts. And it was awful fun. And at one point I actually thought about, what if I ran an orchestra? And I got to know, I became friends with Gideon Teplitz, who was basically the CEO of the Pittsburgh Symphony.
Mhm.
And if you know anything about classical music, they had a conductor, great conductor, Lauren Mazel. And man, he was a fierce guy. But anyway, so I had this whole side thing, and then eventually I moved away from it because I couldn't ride both horses at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So what a small world, huh?
Oh, well, listen, you ran closer to it than I did. I think I got a glimpse into that world. And it was fascinating. I mean, you'll relate to this completely, but for the listeners here, I never knew how an orchestra was run until I looked under the lid when I was doing this process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know what I'm talking about. It's at least 9/10 logistics of moving that many people and their precious instruments around the world. I mean, precious in the real sense of being multi-million-pound insurance for each one, particularly the lead violin. And then you've got the principals, which are absolute virtuosos, and they have a certain expectation of how to be. As you say,
a little bit of ego,
maybe slightly,
just that.
Yeah. Exactly, a titch of that. And then you've got the whole the conductor being the draw. So if you get that wrong, then that can really affect the draw in terms of audience to that particular orchestra. And then you've got this other bit which I completely didn't really appreciate, was they live off their own ticket sales. I mean, you get a little bit in the UK, you get a little bit of subsidy, but generally speaking, they are jobbing musicians from gig to gig, and the income they generate is distributed amongst the orchestra, and that was as a window into a world. I just didn't expect that. I thought there would be, beneficiaries. I know what I mean, benevolent people that gave money, or that kind of what do they call it in the US system where universities get money?
Yeah, philanthropy.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of orchestras in the United States.
No, it wasn't like that.
And so one of the most important people is sort of your fundraiser. Every orchestra has a fundraiser or a team of fundraisers, and basically they go for those philanthropic dollars, especially now when a lot of the government subsidies and things have fallen off, including from the state. So it's a huge part of the business here in the U.S. The other thing that's slightly different too with the Royal Philharmonic is here you have also labor law. The majority of major orchestras are unionized. So you have these union contracts.
No,
And
nothing
so
like that.
some of what I had to do was deal with individual contracts for my clients in light of the union contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates a whole different kind of dynamic. So it's a very, very challenging. Put it this way, even if I could have become the CEO of the Pittsburgh Symphony, that's where I was doing some work, and then they were hiring me for some things. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I feel a bit weird the same way about it.
Tough
Yeah.
job, and you're dealing with a lot of very talented but driven, high ego people.
Yeah, thankless task, I'd say. Endowments, that's the word I was looking for. Isn't that when people leave universities, they give money back to their uni and things
So
like
sorry,
that?
say that again?
Endowments, isn't that what it's
Oh,
called?
endowments. Yes,
I
yes.
thought maybe because I thought that maybe be the model.
That's a big thing. Well,
Yeah.
orchestras really try to build an endowment.
Yeah, which we
You
don't,
know,
that wasn't there.
There's raising money for current operations, and then there's also raising money for endowments that can be invested
Mm.
and help
Well,
us during lean times.
sliding doors, eh, Jathan? We could have both been meeting each other at various festivals, and here we are instead.
Or we
Yes.
could have been on opposite sides of the table if I was still because you would have to basically deal with me as the agent for your concert master or your music director, and you'd be the one going, "Oh, what are they demanding?"
Here he is again. I think I'd rather you were on my side, Jathan. I think I've decided.
Jason, we just don't have the money for that.
I
Heard that
definitely,
a lot, but
I definitely want you on my side of the team, whatever it is.
I-
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's Marjorie, and she sounds amazing, and you sound very, very fortunate to have brought someone like that into your life. All right. Well, we're actually at number 5 already then, unless we're going to loop back on anyone. But who would you want to? Who was your finale?
Mm. Probably a couple of serious candidates here. I would say Michael Patrick O'Brien,
Okay.
a devout Irish Catholic. So we don't have that in common. Mike has been a long-time friend. I mean, it's kind of almost tied between Mike and Robbie White. It's kind of a close 5A. These are friends I've had forever, and I think have really influenced me over the years. They're both super successful in their own spaces, and they're both humble people. There's no arrogance about them whatsoever. You'd be charmed with either one of them or both of them. And they have also incredible stories and experiences. But I think and work ethics off the charts. Work ethics off the charts. And I think that's helped me because I have a tendency sometimes to just coast a little.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys don't coast. And I think it's been an inspiration to me to have these two very close friends from decades that they're not coasting. I've never known either one of them to coast. I have a tendency to coast. And sometimes, it sets me back. Doesn't help me. Now, sometimes it's good to coast, but these people don't coast.
Well, tell me more about them then. So, Michael, let's start with Michael. So,
Okay.
Irish Catholic, obviously. So different faiths, different backgrounds in that
Yes.
regard. So, tell me, how did you meet?
We met in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
We were lawyers, young lawyers, and we had volunteered to serve on the bicentennial of the Bill of Rights Committee to celebrate the bicentennial of the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
So we worked together, and then we became close friends. We were both starting families. Everybody became friends. and, we still are today. He's a very prominent, employment law attorney. He and I disagree on a lot of things. In fact, we're gonna do a debate for the Utah State Bar, next week, about my book. And,
You're debating each other.
yeah, he's gonna be on one side, I'll be on the other.
And what's the
And,
subject? What are you going to be? I mean,
well, basically, my thing this is throw out all conventional wisdom with the human resource function.
and he's going to have the other side. He's going to say,
Throw it all away. He's a management side attorney,
yeah,
and he's gonna talk about risk, and
Yeah.
so we'll have some fun. We've done it before, and it's a lot of fun. And he's got a great sense of humor. He's very fun. He'd be a delightful guest. He's also an author. Has written books that relate to his growing up with a monastery. Sorry, let me just do. He was kind of raised. He didn't have a father, and tough circumstances, and these monastic monks kind of raised him. And it's an amazing story, and it's book sold pretty well. And anyway, he'd be a great guest on all kinds of things. So that's Mike.
I like the sound of him. I like the sound.
Michael Patrick O'Brien.
Are you this thing you're doing? Will it be webcast? Will there be something people can tune into, or no?
Recorded, and then we'll do it. But it's basically, yeah. We've done some things before where we kind of. So he tells me I haven't practiced law in 15 years, and and it shows, and I say, well, you practiced long.
Yeah, I'm in the trenches with the real people.
And so yeah, we're gonna do it again at a big conference in April, and it's kind of this fun. I mean, it's a debate, but it's not a nasty debate.
No.
It's a fun debate.
Bit of fireworks, we hope, though. All right, well, he sounds brilliant. I'd love to meet him. And then Robbie, tell me about Robbie then as well.
Robbie was one of those humble but like Mensa people, like just crazy smart. Got into he was an engineer. He's mostly retired now. He has this passion of going on these things with taking pictures and going to these places. And he says, but I said, so if I want to duplicate, replicate your equipment, what would it take? I mean, I have my iPhone. I can take pictures with my iPhone. He'd say, well, iPhone plus about $15,000.
Ouch.
And I said, I think I'll stick with my iPhone. But he, that's what he's into now. But he's a great human being. An amazing engineer. He ran huge things. He advised the Brazil Olympics. He's just one of those guys that just keeps working, keeps going, and he's trying to cut back now, and been very successful. But you never know it. No ego, no, more self-deprecating. But he's one of those people that kind of inspires you, and claims I inspire him. And I go, well, you poor guy. Yeah, I feel sorry for you. If I've inspired you, I feel sorry for you. But these are just great examples. Also as family men. I mean, as they've had to deal with, as I've had to deal with, kids with disabilities and challenges, and and it's tough. And we also have that in common. And we keep working at it.
Yeah.
Well, do what you can.
Oh, that's well, it's
You
good to hear.
brought them into the world, and they've got some extra challenges. So it's an extra challenge for you as a parent.
Yeah. Do you want to delve into that a little bit, or is that just you just wanted to touch on that? as a Bond.
I think I read it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. I just didn't want to like not.
I mean, maybe that's an offline.
Yeah.
But I think it's and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are going to relate to it.
Yeah. All right. Maybe.
But Mike, Robbie, and I, we have that in common.
Or maybe we'll save that for another day. But I didn't want to go. I didn't want you to say something like that and me not acknowledge it at least.
Sure.
Well, listen, you've done sort of your 5/6, and well, I'm gonna take a punt at some of the key themes that I've taken from here. So first of all, you seem to be surrounded by very accomplished people, and I think that says a lot about you, because I think you are the sum of your closest, the people who keep closest to you. So the fact that you have such accomplished people around you is kudos to you. The other thing that's coming through here is maybe not with the first two. So I think you said Steve and Gary were a little bit more, let's just say, I don't know, what's the right word? Confident.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yes.
But the others are as confident, but with a quieter authority. I think that's what I've got, and a quieter ego. So I don't think there's a thread there through all of them. But there's definitely something here about people being good at things. Even your dad with him being the professor of education, your wife being a concert pianist, Steve and Gary achieving what they did. And now you've gone on to talk about Michael and Robbie, and they again both sound very accomplished people. So is that something you hold very, even if it's unconscious, as a value, like people who actually dedicate themselves to something and achieve something and make an impact?
Yeah, it's not been a conscious thing, but as you say, I mean, it's sort of, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the thread.
There is a thread.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, one of my closest friends now is mostly retired, very successful MD. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's sort of
Something. Yeah, so there's definitely a mutual attraction of some kind in there for all of you.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, then, one of the questions I like to ask my guests is kind of, what next for you then? Because you've achieved so much yourself, and continue to be driven. I can see that. I know you said you coast a bit, but it's all relative, isn't it? It sounds like Mike and Robbie are superhuman, but you've put a fair body of work in your lifetime thus far. What is next? What would you like to, what is your sort of fourth act, as it were?
Well, I'm starting a new position. It'll be announced later this week.
Okay.
But there's an international leadership coaching organization. It's Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder-Centered Coaching.
Okay, yeah, I know it well.
Marshall's written millions and sold millions of books. And hey, Maggie.
Oh, Maggie's back.
Hi, Maggie.
Sit down.
Anyway, so I'm gonna start a position as their chief learning officer.
Oh, wow.
And so we're working all that out. But it's basically they've got thousands of coaches all over the world. And so my job is to help them be more successful.
No, that's a hell of a gig.
So I'll be doing a column. I'll be doing some podcasts, some of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
To try to promote leadership development coaching in the world. And it's truly an international organization.
Well, I'm getting to know it really well. So you've absolute, bravo to you. I've met Brandon, you see. So Brandon has been on this podcast.
Right. That's where Brandon is CEO.
Yes. So
the
CLO. Okay. Well, from what I've learned, and I do talk about Brandon quite a lot on my podcast, the method, that the core principles of that method, that teaching philosophy are fabulous. I mean, it's a bit like going back to your MIDAS thing. It's so obvious when you write it down that this is what it should look like. Of course you should ask people how you're landing on them. Of course you should ask them what they need from you. Like, why didn't we do this before?
It's so genius. It's when I first started to think I'm gonna migrate from law into this OD coaching space. So I hired somebody to train me in conventional coaching and personality tests and all of that. And I reached a point where I said, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And then I happily stumbled upon stakeholder-centered coaching, and I found a home.
Yeah. Well, it probably just clicked with your sense of logic as well. And and I suppose where it will really click to is it's people-centric, of course. Stakeholder-centric, which means
Right.
people-centric leadership, and not just helping the leaders be better for themselves. Because most of these approaches, and I've been in and around leadership my whole life. I mean, I've been a leader of several businesses, and I find the subject absolutely fascinating. But most leadership development books are all about, know thyself, develop thyself, get your own skills up, which really is missing the point of the audience. It's like learning an instrument and just playing it back to yourself only. You've got to do this in context of the people you're trying to influence and hopefully inspire and lead. So it's so obvious when you see it written down that you've got to put the effort into, your impact on them, not your own self-development.
And I think what was kind of turning me off with, so we'll call it conventional coaching.
Yeah.
One, I'm going to have a column on this. I got certified in one of those, tools, and I took a bunch. I've been Berkman and Hogan and this and that and the other and disked and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying they're wrong. Not at all. I mean, but I felt it was, well, first of all, it adds time and money to the coaching engagement. And if you're working with a leader, first of all, they probably haven't budgeted to hire you as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So money matters. And they're already desperately busy. And so taking this other layer. Plus, I felt that the personality test tended to make you self-focused.
Yeah.
Whereas the genius of stakeholders under coaching is it's other focus.
Yeah.
So I used to use them, or like I said, I was certified. I haven't used one of those in a coaching engagement in over 10 years.
Yeah.
And I never will, because it's other-centric and you don't need it. And you can get it much more efficiently, less time, less aggravation, and better able to identify a specific behavioral change that'll make a difference. But for them.
I'm very excited for you and for the business and for everybody that's going to be impacted by your contribution. That's a congratulations. That's a really fabulous next step for you. Listen, thank you so much for sharing these, guys. I imagine the next question we're probably going to get. Well, I'm hoping it's either going to be Michael or Robbie or both. But the last question I always ask my guests is who shall I speak to next and why? You've kind of hinted that already, unless you've thought of somebody else in between.
I think either or both of those people would be great subjects, great history, great stories, and both professional and personal.
Oh, I'll take them both then.
And I'll
Connect me with both.
More than happy to reach out to them. This will be a link at some point, what we're doing here, that I could forward to them.
Absolutely. I'll send you, when it goes live, I'll send it to you. And of course, I'll send you in advance as well. So, no, I love it. And I love it when people do share, because that's, again, part of the point is if you've spoken nicely about someone, sending it to them and going, I said something nice about you on a podcast, what you'd like to know. Even if they weren't, hopefully my next guest. I just think that's such a nice thing to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you won't regret it.
I'm looking forward to it. No, I really would appreciate it. So
great stories, great experiences, good people, humble people. With work ethics that I still am in awe of. So it makes me get up and do a little extra work just thinking about them.
Oh, I like that.
I'll probably work on a column or something after we finish here, and just because I got that on my brain now. So, and instead of kicking back and watching a basketball game, I'm gonna I'm going to do some work.
You've got Mike and Robbie on your shoulders going, come on, Jathan, get on with it.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah. Listen, it's been an absolute joy speaking to you. I wasn't sure what we were getting to, which aspect of your life we would major on, but actually you brought so much color to the conversation, so much depth. And, I knew I was going to learn something. I knew I was going to have my mind open about certain things. And I'm just really, really pleased to have met you. And I think it's great what you're doing. I think the way you're challenging convention in the HR space is necessary. And sounds like if you do get to collaborate with that person you mentioned, Shine or something, what was it called again?
Oh, you mean Johnny Taylor?
Yeah, Johnny Taylor. If that collaboration, sure. I think if that happens, I think that could be an absolute winner. I think that is very, very necessary.
I think so too.
Yeah. Well, listen, so thank you for taking the time with me today.
Sure.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Connected. I periodically publish things. I don't know if you do, but happy to share that with you.
Yeah, 100%.
Welcome to share anything. I've long since don't worry about trademarks or copyrights or any of the rest of it. It's always
just for sharing.
Yeah, I'm in this position where I can afford to just share.
Nice. Well, where can people find you then? If people want to go and find out more. So your books are on Amazon. I know that much. Is there any other signposting you want to do where they can come?
Well, I have a website. It's kind of a work in progress. It's my name. .com. And then of course I'm on LinkedIn and I post stuff there. I have a monthly e-letter where I put content into it.
Okay. We'll put all that on the show notes.
That's probably the main thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll put all that on the show notes so everyone can come find you. But again, thank you so much for taking the time today, Jathan. Don't disappear. I'm about to I need to press stop, but I'm not good at this tech stuff, and I keep pressing stop, and people keep leaving, and then the machine says, "Hang on a minute, don't let them go. Got to do some uploading or something." But no, you can tell I
out you.
No, I don't.
I lend in to competence.
Well, listen, all you have to do is just not go anywhere when I click stop, which I'm about to do. So take care of yourself. All the best. Well, that was Jathan. And I mean, I don't know what stuck with you. I definitely know a thing about sorry, but also love for his wife. And I don't know. I think it must be great to live with a concert pianist. Can you imagine how beautiful the music would be in that house? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment, get involved, get in touch, all this stuff. That would be great. So on to next week, we have Bill Summers. So I don't know, someone like Bill, so much wisdom wrapped up in one person. That's all I'm going to say about Bill. I came away from my conversation with him having learned a lot. And given that he's been in education for 50 years, come out of retirement 5 times because he wants to go back and help, you can see why. It's absolutely through and through in who he is. So yeah, until then, enjoy the week ahead, and I'll see you next week with Bill Summers. Take care for now. Bye-bye.